This is K1DBC. All stations please stand by. The Denver Radio Club Learning Net starts in 5 minutes.
W0TX repeater.
Hey folks, in this video we're making a VU meter with NeoPixels and CircuitPython. This project is powered by the Adafruit Qt Py RP2040 running CircuitPython. It takes audio data from a PDM microphone and maps audio levels to display NeoPixels in different colors. We designed a 3D printed snap-fit case and exposed the PDM mic on the back cover. The 3D printed grid isolates the NeoPixels, and a piece of black LED acrylic diffuses the LEDs. Liz Clark wrote the code for this project in CircuitPython. In the loop, data from the PDM microphone is scaled to fit across the 16 NeoPixels using the map range function. The NeoPixels are updated when the mic input changes from the last value. A for statement iterates.
Hey everyone, good evening. Anybody's welcome. Everybody welcome here on YouTube if you're watching. Just a shout out to the Arapahoe County, or South Metro Fire Rescue opening for the PIO communication specialist position. So here's a quick trailer for that position. Pretty cool here.
Eric and I have always had this view in being a PIO team together that we want to be progressive in what we put out and creative in our storytelling abilities through photo and video. My favorite part of the job as a public information officer is every day is different.
20 minutes from now, I could be doing live interviews from the scene of the next national headline. We respond to a wide variety of things that can happen. In 2021, South Metro's PIOs responded to almost 300 incidents, and that's because that's where the story's happening.
So anything from residential fires, commercial fires,
Aircraft emergencies where planes or helicopters might have crashed,
hazardous materials incidents,
building collapse or vehicles that crash into structures.
an active shooter situation.
Wildland firefighting is another really big part of what South Metro does, and probably one of the greatest risks that we have to our community.
Our water rescues and ice rescues.
Really, this is like ultimate journalism, and where most journalists have to stop at the yellow scene tape, that's where the exciting part of our job really begins. So there are times where it will be physically uncomfortable in the environment that you're in. It will be mentally challenging on how you're going to craft a very sensitive message, and it's going to be emotionally draining at times.
We love pulling those curtains back and tell those stories that humanize firefighters and our administrative staff and everyone else who is here in the fire family. So I love the creative freedom that we have.
We have a lot of really incredible personnel here at South Metro, and a lot of incredible things happen every day, and they're doing such hard work and such great work, and it's really our job to help the community understand what they're doing and tell that story. I predict public information at South Metro will continue to evolve, and that's why we really need someone innovative to join our team.
Getting into a PIO role, especially here at South Metro, was the best decision I could have ever asked for or made in my life. We look forward to meeting with you and finding why you might be a good fit here in the South Metro family.
Hi, I'm Andy Powell.
All right, if you have any interest in that, that video has a link to their recruiting position here. So really cool stuff here. Really cool stuff. Yeah, public information officer. So let's get the net started here. This is K1DBC Net Control. All stations, please stand by. The DRC Learning Net will start in 1 minute. Please stand by while the repeaters are placed into net mode.
PL off.
All right, good evening and welcome back to the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net. This is Daron, K1DBC for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net. My name is Daron, again, call sign K1DBC. I am the net control. We meet every Wednesday except for the third Wednesday of the month, 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time on 145.490 and 448.625. Both have a negative offset. 2 meter uses negative 6 kilohertz, and 70 centimeter uses negative 5 megahertz, meaning you transmit on 144.890 or 443.625 respectively. This net can be broken at any time for emergency or priority traffic by using the word break. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? You can contact us via email at drclearningnet@gmail.com, Elmer at W0TX.org. We also post info at groups.io/G/ham learning net. You can also search for us on YouTube by our club's call sign, W0TX. We stream the net and post archives of past nets and past meetings. This is K1DBC Net Control. We will begin by inviting Elmers only to check in with or without traffic. All Elmers, please check in now.
Alpha 0, Juliet Kilo, AA0 JK, good evening.
All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. I'd like to welcome and acknowledge the following Elmer, AA0JK Fred. Thank you for checking in as always. We'll go ahead and open up the check-ins for regular check-ins. They'll be taken in alphabetical groups based on the first letter of the suffix of the operator's call sign. That is the first letter after the number in your call sign. If you can, please try to use IETU phonetics for your call sign as you check in and indicate if you have any traffic or questions as you do. If your suffix begins with the letters A through M, Alpha through Mike, please check in now.
Whiskey 0, Bravo Kilo Sierra, Barb and Wheat Ridge, no traffic.
Kilo 0, Lima Alpha India, K0 LEI, Larry Lakewood.
November 0, Echo Yankee Zulu, Jim and South Jeffco, no traffic at this time.
Kilo 6, Hotel Juliet Victor, K6HJB, Tom Arvada, no traffic.
This is Whiskey Alpha 4, Mike Bravo Golf, Bob in Aurora, no traffic.
November 1, Golf Uniform Mike, Peter in Littleton.
Kilo Foxtrot 0 Alpha Whiskey Charlie. Brian, Wheat Ridge, no traffic.
WD0CIV, WD0CIV, Charles and Denver, no traffic.
This is K1DBC Net Control. We'll go ahead and hold up there for just a moment. I'd like to welcome and acknowledge the following check-ins: W0BKS Barb, K0LAI Larry, N0EYZ Jim, K6HJV Tom, WA4MVG Bob, N1GUM Peter, KF0AWC Brian, and WD0CIV Charles. Thank you all so much for checking in. This is K1DBC Net Control. One more call. If your call suffix begins with the letters A through M, Alpha through Mike, please check in now.
Kilo Foxtrot 0 Foxtrot Papa India. Ron in Lakewood, no traffic.
All right, and that time we had KF0 FPI. Ron, thank you so much for checking in. We'll go ahead and up the whole alphabet. If your suffix begins with the letters A through Z, Alpha through Zulu, and you'd like to check into the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net, just a general conversation about ham radio, electronics, STEM, STEAM, etc., please do so with your call sign, your name, and let us know if you have any traffic questions. We'll open up the whole alphabet, Alpha through Zulu. Please check in now.
Kilo Echo 0, November Romeo Echo, Jim in Littleton with traffic.
November 0 Tango Romeo Papa, Jim in Lakewood. Good evening.
Kilo Golf 5, Papa Delta Foxtrot, Jake, Denver, no traffic.
W0 Foxtrot Charlie, Cherry, no traffic.
Kilo 0 Yankee Echo Sierra, Cannon Broomfield, no traffic.
All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. I'd like to welcome and acknowledge the following check-ins. KE0 NRE Jim, N0 TRP Jim, KG5 PDF Jake, W0 FFC Jerry, and K0 YES Ken. Thank you all so much for checking in. Another call if you'd like to check into the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net just for the counter. If you have any traffic or questions, please call now. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. Again, you can check out some video that I'm sharing over YouTube. If you search for our club's call sign on YouTube, W0TX, if you have a smartphone or smart TV or whatever, provides some additional context to what we're speaking about. So one more time, if you'd like to check into the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net, we're taking all call suffixes A through Z, Alpha through Zulu. Please check in now. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. I didn't see anybody indicated they had any other traffic or questions at the moment. Appreciate everyone being here. There's you can check in at any given time if nobody else is speaking over the air. Don't hesitate to check in or chime in with your any questions or check-ins or what have it. With that, we had Winter Field Day over this past weekend. I wonder if anybody has any stories to share or anything else. If I missed you had traffic or you had other traffic apart from that, please let me know. So if you have any traffic questions, comments, or anything else for this evening's net, please call now.
NRE has traffic.
All right, KE0, NRE, I apologize. I must have missed that. Jim, the net is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you, Daron. I had a question about, I guess you'd say it's about beacons. The FCC gives hams permission to set up beacon stations, and a number of folks have done that to test propagation conditions. And as part of that, they generally send out a Morse code signal with their station ID on it. I was curious about whether you could, for example, connect a simple antenna analyzer to your antenna, which puts out some fraction of a watt too, just like many of the beacon stations do, but it doesn't put out any station identification along with it. And if it was just running for a few seconds or even a couple minutes, that wouldn't be a problem. But suppose it ran for a much longer period of time, would that be an issue for the FCC? I don't know the answer to that, and I tried to look on the internet and find out, but I couldn't see anything that addressed that specifically in the regulations. So I wonder if anybody's got any knowledge about that. KE0NRE, back to net.
All right, KE0NRE, Jim, great question there. I may not have caught that there, what you were actually asking there, but quick, brief beacon stations transmitter that lets amateurs know a band is open to different parts of the world or country. Beacons are used to study how radio waves work. FCC defines beacon station as an amateur station transmitting communications for the purpose of the observation of propagation and reception. Automatically controlled beacon stations are limited to certain parts of the 28, 50, 144, 222, and 432 megahertz bands, 450 above, must not exceed 100 watts. That's just some general information. So you had mentioned hooking up an antenna analyzer into an antenna, or if somebody else caught what he was asking there or has any, can provide any information, go ahead.
JK?
Yeah, A0JK. Fred, go ahead.
Yeah, this isn't a subject that I know a whole heck of a lot about here. I just wanted to make a comment that anytime we make any transmissions, it is required to identify with your call letters. Other than that, this sounds like an interesting topic we'll have to look into a little bit further. So thank you, Jim. AA0JK, back to net control.
All right, A0JK Fred, this is K1DBC Net Control. Thank you so much for your follow-up there. Yeah, K0NRE, Jim, I may just not have caught what you were asking there. You're asking about beacon stations and antenna analyzer and hooking it up briefly to some equipment, something like that. But yeah, as Fred mentioned there, maybe throwing out your call sign, however, may be through that process. But if you want to have any other follow-up on that, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Daron. The reason I was thinking about this is that over the last couple of years, I've noticed that soil conditions underneath my antenna affect the SWR and even the resonant frequency of the antenna. And I've made just episodic measurements, for a minute or two, just to measure what those parameters of my antenna are. But I'd like to do something a little bit longer term. For example, when I water the grass or if I put down fertilizer, I'd like to be able to make measurements over a longer period of time, maybe on the span of hours or maybe even days instead of minutes, and running an antenna analyzer continuously while I did it. But the analyzer, even though it's putting out a small signal, maybe half or a quarter of a watt, is still technically a transmission, and there wouldn't be any ID information that's being sent out, at least not by the analyzer itself. So I wondered if I had to insert something every 10 minutes or whatever in order to make it compliant. That's the motivation for asking that question. And it's, I suppose it's more of a research kind of thing than it is a station maintenance or adjustment kind of thing with an antenna analyzer. But that was my rationale, and I just wondered if anybody knew enough about the FCC regs to point me in the right direction to find an answer. Back to net, KE0NRE.
Question?
All right, KE0NRE. Thank you for the follow-up again there. Yeah, I'm just snooping a little bit. I have your QRZ pulled up here and showing up some your shack information, things like that, your bio. So, yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, I wonder if there might be another technology available. Let me throw it over to Fred. A0JK, go ahead.
Yeah, Jim. What frequency were you planning on doing that with your analyzer within the ham bands? Or I know that any signal going out there requires a caller ID, but just kind of wondering what frequency you're going to be using, and something like that. That's, I'm curious just exactly how much radiated power a little analyzer would put out, whether or not that would be adequate enough to get the data that you're seeking.
NRE here. I made some measurements of the output of at least the antenna analyzer I'm using, and open circuit it puts out about 2 volts into the antenna or into an antenna, but when you connect it to the antenna, that drops to about half that value. So if you do the math, it turns out to be on the order of maybe a quarter of a watt that would be put out into the antenna by the antenna analyzer. And that's at the order of magnitude of a lot of beacons that you can hear around the country or even in the States. So that's why I thought, well, if I did something like that, maybe it could cause some sort of interference. I've made these very brief measurements, mostly on 40 meters, but also on 20 meters, and my antenna is also resonant on 10 meters. So I'd like to be able to do it on those 3 bands. I don't really care about out-of-band activities at this point, but just looking at the behavior of those 3 ham bands. Back to you, Fred, KE0NRE.
Okay, Jim. Let's see here. I hope I'm getting through here. Our repeater here has got a pause area here that's a little bit annoying here, so I hope I'm not getting blanked out. But anyhow, I digress. This would be real interesting to touch base with the ARRL, with their technical staff, and if they're real good at returning your email, answering your questions, and this would be it'd be interesting to hear just exactly how much power that they are putting out. But if that transmission can be heard within the amateur bands there, I'm sure it's going to have to require an ID on it, associated with it. Even if your neighbor can hear it, they're going to want an ID. So you brought up a very interesting subject. Keep us posted. I would be very interested in hearing some more. AA0JK.
Well, thanks. I appreciate the suggestion of contacting the technical folks at ARRL. They're likely to know or know who might know, short of going to the FCC folks themselves. And I'll give that a try and get back to the group as soon as I get an answer. Thanks very much for the suggestion. KE0NRE back to net.
All right, KE0NRE, thank you for the question there. Great question. And yeah, A0JK Fred, thanks for jumping in there. Yeah, there is a lot of interesting things about soil conductivity properties and things like that. And yeah, we've definitely spoken about these things in the past and why we have certain things here in Colorado. We have the NIST and their WWV stations and the property they selected. We've spoken about and things like that. So. Yeah, it's quite interesting and yeah, really cool. So yeah, great question there. Yeah, we'd love to hear more on that. So, anyone else on that subject or any other comments, questions, check-ins, or anything else at the moment? Please call now.
PDF.
Yeah, KG5 PDF. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I hadn't considered the fact that one is transmitting when you start sweeping that antenna. But as far as applicability goes here, one can get the full Part 95 copy on the internet in certain places. You may be able to get it. I think you can get it straight from one of the FCC pages, actually. So that's good to have it on hand, and that will tell you most everything. But yeah, this particular application might need some interpretation. KG5 PDF back to net.
All right, KG5 PDF. Yeah, thanks for the follow-up as well. Yeah, in regards to the rules and regulations, yeah, my other suggestion was the technology of LoRa. I have no idea if this is even something that maybe something in the what do they call it? The ISM bands, the industrial, scientific, and medical bands. These are unlicensed bands, like 900 megahertz, 2.4, 5.8, things like that. So there's other opportunities out there to collect things and have information transferred via radio. But yeah, great question. So this is K1DBC Net Control. I'll throw it out to the group. Any other comments, questions, check-ins, anything else you'd like to bring up at the moment? Please call now. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net. I guess I'll just take this opportunity to take further check-ins. If you've just tuned in, my name is Drone. Call sign is K1DBC Net Control. If you've just tuned in, this is just a general conversation, casual conversation about ham radio STEM topics, and we have a lot of experience and expertise. So if you'd like to check in, please do so with your call sign, your name, and let us know if you have any traffic or questions. Please call now.
Kilo Echo Zero, Sierra Uniform Mike, Jonathan, no traffic.
All right, and that time we had KE0SUM. Jonathan, thank you so much for checking in. Once more, if you'd like to check into the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net just for the count, or if you have any traffic or questions, we're taking all call suffixes. Please call now. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net. Once more, we are streaming on YouTube. If you'd like to check it out, we're providing some video and photos and some additional context to what we're speaking about. So youtube.com, if you search for our club's call sign, W0TX, if you have a smartphone or a smart TV, you can check that out. So with that, I don't see anybody else indicated they had any traffic or questions for the net. I'll throw it out to the net once more. Does anybody have any traffic questions, comments, check-ins, or anything else for the moment? Please call now. If you were here for the beginning of just before the net, actually, I was playing a video from the South Metro Fire Rescue YouTube channel. It's a promotional video for their PIO position, Public Information Officer. So they have a really amazing presence within the South Metro area, and they have quite a lot of experience. They have a lot of versatile things that they have to deploy to. So looking at the job description, general statements of duties. Position is responsible for ensuring the South Metro Fire Rescue is properly represented during emergency incidents, responding to and coordinating media requests on scene, and follow-up from an incident. This person will be expected to work closely with various stakeholders, bureaus, and divisions throughout South Metro Fire Rescue to understand strategy, organizational direction, programs, and opportunities to effectively execute public relations and social media efforts and deliverables. So really amazing efforts they've done over the years. If you've ever seen their channel, it's really, really cool stuff here.
Part of the job as a public information officer is every day is different.
20 minutes from now, I could be doing live interviews from the scene of the next national headline. We respond to our job really begins. So there are times where it will be physically uncomfortable.
All right, this is K1DBC Net Control, just playing a few seconds of that there. So, yeah, check out the South Metro Fire Rescue YouTube channel. They have plenty of amazing information there. And as we had the recent fire here in Boulder area, and there was a lot of interesting things and unfortunate things. There wasn't reverse 911 in some places, and there was a lot of people were finding things out via Twitter and social media. So things are moving to a different spot nowadays in how information is disseminated to the public. So we can't always rely, unfortunately, on the government-sanctioned emergency activated services, things like that. But things are getting smarter. Our phones, we're getting a lot more information there. So, yeah, check it out if you have any interest. South Metro Fire Rescue Public Information Officer, a communication specialist.
Understand what they're doing and tell that story. I predict public information at South Metro will continue to evolve, and that's...
Yeah, A0JK. Fred, go ahead.
AA0JK. Yeah, that's a real important point, and one of the primary reasons for amateur radio is emergency communications. I know during the fires that we had up there, I had here locally two power outages during that fire. So we never know exactly to what extent an emergency situation like that might present to us, and losing our power grid is really serious business here. And why it's great to have a amateur radio, ham radio, and a grab and go emergency communication box or radio that you can grab and go. But also I noticed that just an article came up here on the ARRL website here for research on massive solar storms suggests a need to prepare for the next massive solar storms here. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It will happen. So being prepared is extremely, extremely important. So let's see, one other thing I had in mind there, but it slipped. So I'll get back later if I remember. AA0JK. Oh yeah, the On the Air magazine has some real great articles here in the January-February issue here on demystifying Morse code. Some real good articles here for anyone who is interested in learning and using Morse code. Back to net control, AA0JK.
All right, AA0JK Fred, this is K1DBC Net Control there. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. In regards to PIO, I bring that up because it's very, very closely related. I have seen the public information officers, and we work with different counties, and we've mentioned in the past the different ARES groups, and real importance there, and there's a lot of opportunity out there. So yeah, really cool stuff there. Yeah, and as you mentioned, the On the Air magazine, demystifying Morse code, it looks like, from the January, February edition here. They have a few articles here. What is CW and why does it work so well? They have key pieces and paddle parts, HF propagation. Top 10 reasons to try Morse code here. Let's see on that. That's always a nice clickbait thing here. It's a new number 10. Going down, age is no barrier. It's a minimalist mode, simplicity. You'll know something that most other people don't. It's like texting without monthly bill. Morse makes you use your head. Number 4 here, CW has a low profile. 3, Morse code removes language barriers, which is pretty interesting. I haven't really thought about. I guess the some of the accepted Morse code maybe kind of does. That's kind of interesting there. So great way to contact distant stations, and if you're a technician, you already have CW privileges. So a lot of cool information there too. So really cool stuff there, Fred at A0JK.
Further comment?
Yeah, go ahead, A0JK.
Yeah, I know we depend highly on our electronics apparatus, but one item here to note is we cannot depend on GPS all the time. Early morning hours, late evening hours, there are always issues with the accuracy of a GPS. Also, during solar storms, the satellites get bumped around and lose their calibration and have to be recalibrated. And so don't put your faith entirely in a GPS if you need navigation to some specific point. And one example was we had a guest speaker that was coming to one of our meetings one night in the late evening, the late afternoon to late evening hour, and his GPS let him off into the weeds instead of our meeting point. So take heed and don't always trust the technology entirely. Have a backup. Back to net control, AA0JK.
All right, A0JK Fred, this is K1DBC Net Control there. Yeah, absolutely. Depending on where you're driving, buildings can interrupt GPS signals, and as you mentioned, earlier there, the research on ancient massive solar storms suggests a need to prepare for the next ones. Really some interesting things here. Numerous powerful X-class solar flares occurred last fall as solar cycle 25 activity picked up. More powerful flares than these have taken place, such as the Carrington event, which we speak of in the past, 1859, during which aurora was seen in the South Pacific and in Cuba and sparked electrical fires. Similar events took place in the 20th century. Scientists researching spectacular solar storms that took place as early as 7176 BC and 5259 BC. Huge solar flares 9,200 years ago has convinced researchers that we are not ready for the next one, and modern technology would take a major hit. Extreme space weather event or solar superstorm is one of a number of potentially high impact but low probability natural hazard, says Paul Cannon, a Royal Academy of Engineering fellow and chair of study working group that developed a report. Extreme space weather can have impacts on engineered systems and infrastructure. So it is pretty impactful. Carrington event took place. If a Carrington event took place today, it could destroy orbiting satellites, disrupt GPS, and damage undersea cables, internet infrastructure on the ground. It's not a zero probability of this happening. I was just looking up the Wikipedia article for a sextant, a doubly reflecting navigation instrument that measures the angular distances between two visible objects. So, old navigation for maritime, but hopefully we don't have to get dragged back into those sort of times. But you never know. Definitely have good land navigation skills, understand maps, and be able to read old school things. So. Good information there, Fred. This is K1DBC Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net. I'll throw it out to the net. Anybody have any comments, questions, check-ins, anything else you'd like to bring up for this evening's net? Please call now.
Additional comment, AA0JK.
Yeah, A0JK. Fred, go ahead.
Yes, the W0TX's newsletter that comes out monthly, the roundtable. There is always a monthly report on solar activity, and the purpose of that is to help hams understand how solar conditions affect communications, and its intent is to make you aware of what is going on, kind of educate everyone in everything there as far as solar activity, and makes you a little bit better prepared to deal with conditions there. But we try to have a good write-up there once a month under our solar report. So that's there for your benefit. AA0JK.
All right, AZJK Fred. This is K1DBC Net Control. Yeah, solar geophysical activity report provided by Fred Hart, AA0JK. Looks like monthly here. I'm sure for quite a while now. So yeah, pretty in-depth information here and how it affects radio propagation, what that means for us, and a lot of interesting stuff here. So really cool stuff. Yeah, as always mentioned, we mentioned Dr. Tamitha Scove. Little bit easier on the eyes, I think, than Fred. No offense, Fred, but really great information there. Space Weather Woman, really cool stuff. So this is K1DBC Net Control. Yeah, really cool stuff. We have the weather report on our weekly, on our normal TV, but we have space weather reports via these our roundtable newsletters. So A0JK Fred, thank you so much for providing that information there.
Yeah, Tamitha is great. Really puts out a lot of good information there, and like you said, looks a lot better than me. AA0JK, keep her tuned in.
All right, this is K1DBC Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net. Yeah, great information there. A lot of cool stuff here. With that, I'll throw it out to the net. Anybody else have any other comments, questions, check-ins, anything else you'd like to bring up for this evening's net so far? Please call now.
PDF with a further comment on the beacon.
Yeah, KG5 PDF. Go ahead.
I apologize. I can't remember the station that was inquiring about that. May make a note here if somebody will mention it in a minute. So just off the light bulb moment was that generally devices are part FCC certified, right, not to cause harmful interference, etc. So in that case, you know you're good to operate that equipment. Just a quick brush over here. I noticed, you know, my Nano VNA has 0 certifications that are stamped on it or that I can find through manufacturer's documentation. It's pretty much a generic device, similar to an Arduino, I guess. However, I did swing over to Rig Expert, and it appears the same way over there. Rig Expert does not claim any kind of FCC certifications to their handheld antenna analyzers. So maybe they have those if a person was to reach out to them, but they're certainly not readily identifiable. So assuming that that device could be operated as an intentional transmitter, it was a good deal of caution to not put that on the air, I guess, constantly. So, yeah, keep us in the loop there, KG5 PDF.
This is KE0NRE. I was the one who asked that question about being able to use an antenna analyzer, sort of like a miniature beacon. But you raise a good point. Those antenna analyzers, no matter what the brand, can certainly operate outside of the ham bands. You can tell them to use just about any frequency you want. And in that regard, you know, they are transmitting a signal that potentially could cause interference, not just for the amateur radio community, but for anybody who's got sensitive equipment or is nearby. That's a really good point. I'm glad you raised that. It's KE0NRE back to net.
All right, KE0NRE. Jim, thanks for the follow-up. KG5 PDF. Jake, thank you as well for the follow-up on there. Yeah, it's interesting to hear that follow-up as well. Yeah, these can operate outside the ham band, and yeah, that's interesting. So really cool stuff there. So KG5 PDF, thanks again, and K0NRE, thanks as well. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. A little bit scatterbrained here this evening, but see if I can find something. We have another 15 or 20 minutes or so here until the end of the net. No hard stop, but if anybody else had any other comments, questions, check-ins, anything else you'd like to bring up for this evening's net, please call now.
Can NRE see that FCC certification you had up there, KG5 PDF?
All right.
This is NRE. I'm not sure I understood the question. Could you repeat that for me, please?
This is K1DBC Net Control. I was just showing a PDF from the rigexpert.com site here. Let me drop for a moment. This is the Declaration of Conformity from RigExpert. Device complies with Part 15 FCC rules. Operation is subject to the following conditions. May not cause harmful interference and must accept any interference received, including interference that may cause undesired operation. Testing found to comply with limits of Class C digital device pursuant to Part 15, the FCC rules. So fairly standard, probably a clause here for Part 15 acceptance and a declaration of conformity to that. So that is what I have brought up here.
Okay, so you were able to find that one there for a rig expert. So the challenge, I suppose, would be can NRE find that similar document for whichever analyzers he's wanting to operate, KG5 PDF.
NRE here. I am using a rig expert, and that's good to know, but I don't know that the way that's phrased in their documentation that it really applies to the antenna analyzer when it's actually connected to an antenna, because it would be putting out a signal. And I think if you pay attention to if you have a band scope on your receiver, you can oftentimes see people who were doing scans like that in the neighborhood, and those sweeps that occur will come up on your screen. That's not necessarily interference, but there's no ID associated with it. Back to net, KE0NRE.
All right, KE0NRE, this is K1DBC Net Control. I'm going to have to come back and re-listen to this this evening's net just to kind of re-clarify for myself some of the questions there and some of the thoughts there. So, trying to utilize some equipment in some alternative ways. And yeah, it might be a little bit difficult to answer those questions at the moment. So yeah, we might have to think about that for next time. So yeah, using an antenna analyzer as a mini beacon, if you will, for basically kind of trying to get measurements for different soil properties, it sounds like, or something like that. So really interesting project there. So yeah, this is K1DBC Net Controlled. NRE or anyone else on that subject or anything else you'd like to bring up for this evening's net, please call now.
K0GPA, check in.
All right, we had K0GPA. Bob, thank you for checking in.
Okay. Yeah, I had something interesting. You know, your antenna tuners, when automatic antenna tuners, when you hit the tune button, they'll put out a signal too. And it's funny, I get on a 80-meter group in the morning sometimes, and I hit my tune button, they can hear it.
That is a great point there. Yeah, tuning in your antenna, it will put out a transmit signal there. It keys up your radio, and if people can hear something on the other side, that that is interesting. I wonder. I mean, there might be some there's definitely some probably little loopholes or things here. They're not loopholes, but guidance on that for how that is allowed, things like that. So short transmissions for certain purposes may not require identification potentially, and low power. So we'll have to try to dig in a little bit and see if we can with help with that. Yeah.
Well, I always identify after anyway, before I go on the net. But you can see it. I got two different HF transmitter receivers here, transceivers, and I can actually see it on my scope on another one if I have it turned on. I have them on two different bands. I still see, if I hit the tune button, I can see it on another, what do you call it, the pan adapter.
W0TX repeater.
All right, gotcha. This is K1 DBC Net Control. Thank you so much, K0GPA Bob, for the information there. Yeah, being able to see your own signal there on a waterfall through a pan adapter. Yeah, that's kind of interesting as well to be able to monitor your own signal there. That's pretty cool. So, interesting. Yeah, definitely. When you're transmitting over the air and you're, we may all accidentally hear there with an antenna unplugged from an HT, maybe key up to test or something like that. But for the most part, definitely try to make sure you're throwing your ID out there, and so people know who you are, and things like that. So this is K1 DBC Net Control. Good conversation here so far this evening. We have another 10, 15 minutes or so here. Does anybody else have any comments, questions, check-ins, or anything else you'd like to bring up for this evening's net? Please call now. All right, this is K1 DBC Net Control. Again, as mentioned last week, Winter Field Day took place over the weekend. So if anybody has any stories or information on that, let us know. More information, winterfieldday.com. I don't know why this isn't coming up here for me. Sorry about that. Over the 29th, 30th weekend, dedicated group of amateur radio operators who believe the emergency communications winter environment is just as important as preparations and practice that is done each summer, but with some additional unique operational concerns. So I know a lot of Aries groups still operate or do operate winter field days. So if anybody has any comments, questions in regards to that or anything else, please let us know. That's not winter. All right, this is K1 DBC Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net. I'm sure I can bring up some stories for this evening's net. But if anybody has any other comments, questions, check-ins, or anything else you'd like to bring up for this evening's net, please call now.
PDF.
Yeah, KG5, PDF, go ahead.
Hey, I talked with a couple of Denver Aries members at the Loveland Ham Fest, and he mentioned that they generally have a Sunday, like a training. They're on the air for various reasons, generally a training topic or something. Do you know anything about that? KG5 PDF.
KG5 PDF. This is a K1 DBC Net Control. Not off the top of my head. I mean, I'm looking at denverareas.org, and they have more information on their nets. It looks like they have quite a few things coming up here. VHF nets, weekly nets, their RMHAM universities. Plenty of information on there. I don't know specifically about that other one, maybe what you're speaking of, but does anybody on the air have any other experience with the Denver Areas group, and maybe have any other information to provide on that? Go ahead.
JK.
Yeah, A0JK, Fred, go ahead.
A0JK. Yeah, don't they have a regular weekly or daily net where that information could be acquired? I'm quite sure they keep everyone up to date there and their activities there. But I believe on the W0TX under nets, you'll find their activities, time, and frequency. A0JK, back to net control.
All right, A0JK, Fred. Yeah, that's a good information there. Just in general, yeah, probably just check out their weekly. That Tuesdays, 1900. Castle Rock repeater groups 146.670, 100 hertz tone. And as mentioned over on the W0TX.org, the net listings, it looks like it has the same information there, 1900 hours. Good information. Yeah, I know. I was just looking at a photo here. Jim, forgetting his call sign here, but a lot of Aries groups. There's a lot of overlaps between all the amateur radio groups and things like that, so you'll probably see some familiar faces and hear some familiar voices. So KG5 PDF, if you have any other questions on that, go ahead.
That was it. I just haven't been able to make it in on their weekly nets there yet. We've just been awful busy. So, that's kind of an unscheduled, just kind of training operations and whatnot is what he made it sound like. So, anyway, very good. Appreciate it. KG5 PDF, back to net.
All right, KG5 PDF. Yeah, there's sometimes some of these clubs take a little bit of a time to get everything published on their website and some of their different activities. So, definitely would be interested to hear if you have any other information on that in the future. So, this is K1 DBC Net Control. Don't have much more else for this evening's net. Maybe can bring up one or two stories, but with that, I'll throw it out to the net. Any other comments, questions, check-ins, or anything else for this evening's net? Please call now. All right, this is K1 DBC Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net. I can probably bring up a couple of stories, but once more at the moment, does anybody else have any other comments, questions, check-ins, or anything else you'd like to bring up for this evening's net? Please call now. All right, this is K1 DBC Net Control. What do we have here? Looks like a follow-up. Let me see if they have some good information here. I don't have any other good information on this story here. Just use of software-defined radio in Crimea. Back in June 2021, Stanislav was facing 25 years in prison. they are basically just looking for further information. They still don't know what's happened to him, but just a basic story of, I have no idea, really. Maybe espionage, who knows, really. So, but they were just using some software-defined radio and tracking planes and things you can do here in the States without too much issue, really. So, what else here?
W0TX repeater.
Pretty interesting thing here. Just yet another collection of basically software-defined radios. People serving radio and audio from and data from their local area. So air traffic, APRS, marine traffic. Prepare some lightning detection devices. Looks like a user here has put a list highlighting the number of crowdsourced data aggregators that use software-defined radios. Common example is flight tracking, such as flight aware, flight radar, also APRS, marine traffic, police EMS. So, yeah, nice little list here. I really don't have much else. Speaking of field day, summer field day will be quickly approaching us, and the club could use as much help as we can get. So if you, June 26th and 27th, or that's last year's, it'll be the last weekend of June, and this year that'll be the 25th and 26th. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us, W0TX at W0TX.org. You can reach out to myself, K1DBC at ARL.net, Mark, N0XRX. We love to have as much help as we can get to have a great field day. So we'll hopefully have maybe a more hands-on approach this year in terms of how the club board operate, or how the club operates in terms of organizing this. So keep that in mind. We'd love to have your help, and it's for you and by us. So love to hear more on that. This is K1DBC Net Control. I find myself rambling on a little bit here, so I will throw it out to the net. This will be kind of the second to last call. Any other comments, questions, check-ins, anything else you'd like to bring up for this evening's net, please call now.
A0JK.
Yeah, A0JK, Fred, go ahead.
Yeah, just one last note here. I noted that a good majority of the folks who check in here are holders of an extra class license, but still, especially for newer hams coming into the group here, if you have any questions or need a little bit of direction here, amateur radio related, you can always contact me at Elmer at W0TX.org. It's Elmer at W0TX.org. And we will do our best to give you some direction and some assistance there as you're either entering into the amateur radio community, or even if you've been a ham for quite some time and have some information there for us, or we can help you out. We are here. AA0JK, back to net control.
All right, AA0JK, Fred, this is K1DBC Net Control. Yeah, absolutely. You have plenty of opportunities out there to get a hold of us if you'd like. As Fred mentioned, Elmer at W0TX.org. W0TX at W0TX.org, just a catch-all, and yeah, feel free to contact us over the air, online, however you feel comfortable, and we're more than happy to provide any support that we can. So we're all here just trying to help out and enjoy this hobby. So thank you so much there, Fred, A0JK. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net. Yeah, I thought I had some other things, but let's see. Yeah, interesting article here on hackaday.com in regards to kind of what Fred was speaking about. Radio amateurs and skywatchers rejoice. Satellite operators worry. Solar storm incoming. So very quickly on this, how do you look back over your life and divide it up? Maybe by decades, cultural moments, geopolitical, radio amateurs with older call signs, there's a temptation to do by solar cycles. Interesting. Roughly 11-year period of sun's activities have a huge effect on radio propagation. Now in solar cycle 25, really interesting article here, kind of what we were speaking about some upcoming solar storms. So really cool stuff here. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net. Any last-minute check-ins, comments, questions, anything else you'd like to bring up for this evening's net, please call now. All right, with that, I will go ahead and wrap things up here. Cover Club Business. We meet every third Wednesday, except the third Wednesday of the month. Our next meeting is February 16th. Presentation is going to be 2 simple antennas for HF presented by Carl, K9LA. He'll cover 2 basic HF antennas, their properties and capabilities, examples debunking some common misconceptions about the 2 antennas, and we'll also discuss free antenna modeling software, propagation advantages of various communication modes such as CW, SSB, FT8, FT4, etc., and then with a Q&A. He started a radio career as a shortwave listener in the late 50s, received novice license in 61, electrical engineering graduate, Purdue, and RF design engineer until retirement in 2013. Enjoys propagation research, DXing, contesting, experimenting antennas, and restoring using vintage equipment. So really cool presentation there. February 16th, a couple of weeks away from now. So head on over to W0TX.org for more information, meet.google.com for that. We had a total of 18 check-ins, Appreciate everybody checking in. Appreciate all the activity on YouTube. Hopefully at some point in the future we'll be able to migrate this over to our club's YouTube. But for now, appreciate being able to do this here personally. Always happy to have any comments. I do get a couple of comments here and there. People basically just thanking people for their presentations, things like that. So that's always nice to see. So yeah, never hesitate to subscribe, like, whatever you like. You can search for W0TX on YouTube. With that, what else do we have here? Yeah, as Fred mentioned, Elmer at W0TX.org, DRC Learning Net at gmail.com, groups.io/G/ham learning net. Everyone is welcome to participate however you'd like. With that, please join us next week, 19:30 hours, 7:30 p.m. for the next DRC Learning Net. All stations, please stand by while their feeds are placed into normal mode.
PL on.
All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. Appreciate, again, everyone being here. If you want to hang out for a couple minutes, I'll play an outro video of some pick-and-place machines, some interesting things like that, just a couple minutes. But with that, this is K1DB73 to all. I am clear, and we'll speak to all next week. Have a good evening.
W0TX repeater.
Let's do some factory footage.
Okay.
NBC Television.
And it wouldn't be factory footage without, you know, the Disney building. This is a view outside our window now.
It's like breathing.
Yeah.
All right, well, it's going to get skinned soon.
Yeah.
Right,
From lovable characters. Okay.
Last September, the world